And we're going to start in Anahata Asana. So Anahata is the heart, and asana is posture or seat. But we're going to start off with normal Anahatana, and then we're going to add a twist. So you start by coming onto your hands and knees, like at the back of your yoga mat, and then you stretch your arms forward, bring your forehead down to the ground. It should feel nice. You should feel your chest kind of opening to the ground. And just take a moment in this dramatic gesture of humility to give up your practice, like a moving prayer or a silent wish. Allowing the greater forces in the universe, divine love, to help guide us through this day. And then lift up a little bit so you're kind of on your elbows. And take your right arm and thread it behind your left elbow. Bring your right ear onto the ground and maybe wrap your left arm behind you. Maybe not. So Anahata Asana with a twist. You're going to start by turning to your left, your face, and then bringing your arm behind your left elbow. The right arm behind your left elbow. Lift up. Frida just had this insight. She said, this is really uncomfortable. Now, so just make some adjustments. No, it's totally okay to be uncomfortable. Make some adjustments if you need to. You can unwrap your right arm, for instance. That was your left arm. Thank you. You can unwrap your top arm. You can put your arm on the ground. You can put it on your hand. Yeah, and Lulu, if you're confused, your hips are up in the air and you have a twist. So you have your right ear on the ground, like you're listening for a train. And if you have a little bit more, you're wrapping your top arm behind you. I wanted to start today with the prayer for the great family. And this is written down after a Mohican prayer by Gary Snyder. And as I read it, just feel it in your body. Notice where you connect to it. Gratitude to Mother Earth, sailing through night and day. Her rich soil, rich, rare, and sweet. In our minds, so be it. Gratitude to plants, the sun-facing, light-changing leaf, and fine root hairs, standing still through wind and rain, their dances in the flowering spiral grain. In our minds, so be it. Gratitude to air, bearing the soaring swift and silent owl at dawn. Breathe our song, clear spirit breathe. In our minds, so be it. Gratitude to wild beings, our brothers, teaching secrets, freedoms, and ways, who share with us their milk, self-complete, brave, and aware. In our minds, so be it. Twist yourself to the other side while I continue to read this long prayer. Moaning and groaning is okay. Gratitude to water, clouds, lakes, rivers, glaciers, holding and releasing, streaming through all our bodies, salty seas. In our minds, so be it. Gratitude to the sun, blinding, pulsing light through trunks of trees, through mists, warming caves where bears and snakes sleep. He who wakes us. In our minds, so be it. Gratitude to the great sky, who holds billions of stars and goes yet beyond that, beyond all powers and thoughts, and yet is within us. Grandfather space, the mind is his wife. So be it. There's this beautiful practice in Buddhism where when you're working on letting go of something, you practice gratitude towards that thing. Sometimes the things that we want to let go of are chosen and contemplated on purpose. And other times the thing we are working to let go of can be things that were like abruptly taken from our life. But this practice of gratitude actually cultivates more freedom in our being. So we're not as easily blown about or yanked around by a changing world. So even though this poem is like grateful for Mother Earth, grateful for the wild beings, grateful for the sun, that's not an example of wanting to let go like they're going to disappear. But maybe to loosen our reactionary relationship. So we're not sad when it's not sunny, for instance. That we don't have a reaction that the wildness of the world is here to upset my path. Unwind your arms and let your hips slide back to your heels and take your arms back behind you into Embryo Pose. So your hands come back towards your feet, your head is on the ground. It's like child's pose, but this time like a skinny version of child's pose. And then slide forward into Sphinx. So let your elbows just be slightly in front of your shoulders. your legs relaxed. If your back is juicy and easy, just take your legs as wide as your yoga mat or a little wider. If your back is a little fragile or sensitive, take your legs a little closer together. Now, I imagine the Mohicans, when they were sounding this prayer, they had no, like, critical Buddhist analysis of the Mohican prayer. So it's a little bit of a taking one idea from far away and putting it to this other idea. But this attitude, I think, of gratitude can really be a liberator. And like this prayer from the Mohicans speaks to us, moves us, feels connected to us. The same is true from work and, from Buddhism, that even if you're not a Buddhist, there are things that work on us and are helpful and gifts. And just even the capacity to unite these two very different streams, even in a moment in our own contemplation, is testament to the times we're living in. That most likely, even if you practice Buddhism, even if you really pursue traditions, ancient traditions or tribal traditions, even if you believe in Christianity or in, any of it, Judaism, Islam, Shintoism, that it's not isolated anymore. It just isn't possible, except for when extreme measures are taken. So to be a human being, alive now, is to actually have this opportunity of integration that is far more than just socioeconomic integration, race integration, age integration. It's really this, like, how much of the world and history is actually alive in me. There's this amazing phenomena, like when I'm teaching a yoga class, or if you're giving a speech, or if you're even writing an essay, that we inherently build what we say on, the shoulders of giants. That when I'm speaking to you, I sometimes speak the words of Gandhi, Cyndi Lauper, my mother, Lama Michael Roach. Like, I can just name random people because they are influencing me. Their words will come out of my mouth. Some of them clearly attributed, but often even kind of shadowy and in unconsciousness. One of my challenges, wait, we don't have the time. I'll tell you after we come into the next posture. So let your inhale, engage your abdominals, and just slowly and gently lower yourself down to the ground and wiggle your hips side to side a little bit. Moaning and groaning. And then bring your hands underneath your shoulders, push your hips back to your heels, cross your ankles, and make your way into butterfly. Bring the bottoms of your feet together. Your heels are 2 hands length away from your groin. Lift up your chest, open up your heart, and with your exhale, bow down. Soften, be gentle. I was going to say one of my challenges has always been like, I have a weird biography in that since I was a little kid, like I remember being 6 years old and realizing that not everyone believed in reincarnation. I probably didn't even know that word. But that everyone didn't believe that after they died, they came back into a new human being life. And it wasn't because, or maybe it was because my parents were, practicing esoteric Christianity. We're in a very, beautiful Camp Hill community. But it was something really not disputed or argued with in my being. And so learning that other people didn't think that, I thought that was really weird. But even later, learning that often when people then imagine reincarnation, they often kind of plot their history through incarnations in the same people or essentially the same tribe. And for me, that was also so ridiculous. How would it be? Like, I can't imagine. And believe me, like I've been wrong before, so maybe I'm just totally wrong, but I just can't imagine the grace of reincarnating to the same race and the same people again and again. Instead, I really have always imagined that when we reincarnate, like we come into a balancing incarnation, one that complements the other life, just like a nice orange complements the right blue. So that as we become older as humanity, we'll start to notice not only when we speak and when we share, do we borrow and use the words of so many ancestors and so many personalities, but that even in our unconsciousness, these, the place where our invisible roots go, that we carry the experience of being in so many different lives with so many different biographies and particulars, that our compassion will be more and more accessible. This idea of wanting to understand what it's like to be the other. That there comes a tipping point where even if that's not articulated in elegant language, and maybe this tipping point is here where we start to recognize we have to make solutions that don't just work for me, don't just work for my family, but actually works for someone else's family, works for a stranger, works for the person I habitually ignore, works for the person I habitually lift up. And then inhale, start to roll up. And then just stretch out your limbs. Make circles with your toes and your hands. Maybe you're lucky enough to get some snap, crackle, pops. And then hug your knees in. Drop your head. Squeeze in. Let your head just drop to your knees. Giving yourself a little or a big hug. And then inhale, lift up your head. Roll over your shins and come to sit on your heels. Allow your hands to meet at heart center. And in this practice, we're actually pushing our hands together so you can feel the inside of both of your palms. Your thumbs are connected to the breastbone, and you really want to let your elbows drop down, even though a lot of the yogi pictures have the elbows pointing out. Lift up your heart, grow tall through the very crown of your head, close your eyes, and just take a quiet moment to just dedicate your class to someone who needs some love or an impulse you want to see grow in the world, or just even to a force greater than yourself that is holy and divine. Then empty your breath. Let's take a full inhale and sound 3 ohms. And then release your hands down and just shake a little bit, shake your hands out. And then with your inhale, stretch your arms up. And we're going to do this weird weightlifting dramatization. I don't know what you call this. But you can imagine you have a little bit of resistance as you pull down and spark your hands up. Like you're a little firecracker, or ta-da, good morning. You have extra antennas maybe today. Let's give it our all for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then let your arms drop down. And then see if you can actually swing your arms, a little bit of a twisty poo. And then place your hands on the ground and come into tabletop and spin your fingers. So let's start by spinning them out as far as they go. So they might even be pointing back at your knees, and just start to make some little circles, warming up your wrists here. Like no way to really screw it up. Like you can make different kinds of circles. All right. And now turn your fingers so they point dramatically inward, and then take your circle the other way. So I went from here to there. So just move your hands. Yes? Yeah, there you go. And again, little circles. Maybe ellipsis. You're so deep, doing infinity signs. All right. And then line up your fingers so they're pointing straight forward again. And then, oh, you can't see my hand. There you go. Then come up onto your fingertips and come down to your finger. Do it with the other hand. Left hand, come up to your fingertips and down. Whoop. Whoop. Notice this is a lot easier in tabletop than it is in plank or in downward facing dog, but don't you worry, we get there. And then maybe you need to shake out your hands one more time. And now you're going to tuck your toes under, and you're going to float your knees, and then just tuck your knees. So you're just shaking your knees side to side. And then Bring your knees back to the ground. Inhale, lift up into cow. Exhale, come into cat. Inhale into cow, really stretching the front of your body. Even your gaze is lifting. Exhale, come into cat, maybe looking for your belly button. Inhale, lift up into cow. One more time, feel your shoulder blades moving away from your ears. And with your exhale, maybe even float your cat, letting your knees lift up. And then come to tabletop. And you're going to tuck your toes under, lift up your knees and stay low and reach your hips up and back. Coming into downward facing dog. Now, when you're downward facing dog, make some bigger circles. So feel the weight kind of move from your hands to your feet, from your hands to your feet, and then change the direction, circling back, feet to your hands, feet to your hands. And then maybe even close your eyes and try to come back to your downward facing dog, allowing the same amount of weight to be in your hands as are in your feet. So most likely, a lot of us have to bend our knees more. This brings a little bit more weight out of our wrists and into our feet. Beautiful. Now, finding this nice and balanced place, really bring your chin to your chest and look at your navel one more time. And then let your gaze relax and look in between your hands. Take another full breath in. With your exhale, empty it out and lightly hop your feet in between your hands. Inhale, hi, halfway lift. Let your heart lift, let your heart open. Maybe open your smile a little bit. It makes effort a little easier. And then with your exhale, release and bow down and take your hands to the crooks of your elbows. And again, soften the bend in your knees and just let your upper body sway a little bit. Like maybe you imagine you're a piece of seaweed being lightly tossed around by the currents of the ocean. And then release your hands down and take your hands to your feet and just start to squeeze your hands up your legs. Maybe pausing and really giving yourself a good little knee massage. You might feel how nice the warmth of your hands feels against your knees. In one of old Tibetan yoga practices, they talk about how our joints are always leaking energy. And then come up to your grand thighs, take it back to your hamstrings. And then there's a fun part, squeeze your butt. Yeah, that's juicy. That's nice. Have a moment of self-appreciation, gratitude for this amazing body you've got. And then maybe squeeze your ribs and stretch your arms up to the sky, look up. And with your exhale, samastitihi. Just pause for a moment and just even feel that physical contact with your hands and your leg already started to lift your energy and warm you up. Then inhale, stretch your arms up high. Exhale, soften your knees and bow down. Inhale, halfway lift. And then step back to plank. And then lift up onto your fingertips on your right hand. And then put your right hand down and lift up to the fingertips on your left hand. Put your left hand down. Now lift up to the fingertips on your right hand and see maybe, can you lift up to the fingertips on your left hand? So you're actually doing a fingertip plank. Beautiful. And then bring your hands back down. Inhale, inch forward. And then keeping your elbows squeezing to your ribs while you slowly lower your strong, straight body all the way down to the ground. Let your toes stretch out. Now feel this first. Push your toenails down to the ground. Engage your thighs. Feel your knees lift up. And inhale, baby cobra. So baby cobra, your elbows are close to your ribs. You're lifting up your chest. Your shoulder blades are pinching together. Maybe your chin is lifting a little bit. Maybe you lift up your hands to be like, look, I don't need them. Gorgeous. And then with your exhale, come back down to the ground. Now we're going to lift up to Cobra. And I used to never teach this in vinyasa, but there's a reason I'm willing to teach it now. Root down with your toenails. Make sure that your thighs are engaged and your kneecaps are not touching the yoga mat. Then inhale, lift up, straightening your arms as far as you can. So there's no baby. It's adult cobra. Let your shoulders come back behind you. Get more active with your legs if your lower back hurts. Get stronger with your legs. Bring your shoulders down and behind you, Lulu. Yeah, gorgeous. Take another full inhale. Let the beautiful heart lift up. And with your exhale, come all the way back down to the ground again. So it should be a lot of work to do Cobra. Baby Cobra can be done a lot more gentle. So if you're slowly rebuilding your strength, you don't have to be in a rush. With your next inhale, you're going to plant your toenails into the ground, let your kneecaps lift up, and then lift up to upward facing dog. So you pull your chest through your shoulders. You want your heart in front of your shoulders. Your gaze is starting to lift upwards, and your legs are still strong, but this time floating. And then however you want to get there, exhale to downward facing dog. So maybe you come back on your knees. Maybe you lie down and push yourself back first through child's pose and then lift up. Now take a moment here and really decide what suits you best today. It might not be what suits you tomorrow or what suited you yesterday, but you really want to see where is your edge. We want to do this like Goldilocks special. So it's right in between too much and not enough. Take another fueling inhale, being clear what you're going to practice in your next sun salutation. Empty your breath all the way and lightly hop your feet in between your hands. Inhale, drag your chest forward. Feel your chest opening. Exhale, release and bow down. Let your head drop. Now root down to rise up and roll all the way up to standing, stretching your arms higher than last time. And with your exhale, Samastitihi. At the end of your exhale, you drop your hands and we're ready to go again. Inhale, lift up, stretching your whole body long. Exhale, bow forward, folding your body in half. How cool. Inhale, come up to this weird L shape, halfway lift. Now this is preparing us. It's a preparatory shape. Keep your abdominals engaged and either jump to chaturanga or step back to plank and lower down. Inhale, your back bend. Low cobra, real cobra, upward facing dog cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Let your knees be soft. Feel that when you bend your knees, you have a little bit more booty power. So it's like you're reaching your heavenly butt up to the sky. Maybe you want to imagine you've got little floaty clouds there. That like it's like an invisible hand like helping you up. Yeah. Take another full fueling inhale. Empty your breath all the way and then walk or hop your feet in between your hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Really feel that you're filling up the back of your lungs, creating space in your back body. Exhale, release and bow down. Let your head drop. Root down and roll all the way up to the sky. Stretch up tall and catch your left wrist. And with your exhale, bow to your right or arch to your right. Inhale up to center. With your exhale, change your grip and bow to your left. Inhale up to center, hook your thumbs, lift up a little higher, and with your exhale, come into a baby back bend. Your hips are pushing forward. Then inhale up to center, separating your hands. And with your exhale, either bring your hands through heart center, or you can even swan dive down if you want. Inhale, halfway lift. And then jump to chaturanga or step to plank and lower either through chaturanga to the ground or chaturanga. Inhale, your back bend. Make this practice your own. Exhale, downward facing dog. Let your knees be soft And you'll notice some days call on you to be more in movement. So wiggling in your downward facing dog feels more life affirming. Other days, we want to be still in our dog. Take a full fueling inhale. Empty your breath all the way. Look forward and lightly hop your feet in between your hands or hop and walk. Inhale, drag your chest forward, shoulder blades away from your ears. And with your exhale, release and bow down. This time, bend your knees, drop your butt, inhale, Utkatasana. Now, this is a fun place to breathe because it's a little bit, Johnny Kest uses the term fire log. But you need something to really start the fire. And we've started the fire a little bit. We've thrown in the kindling, but we really want to get the blaze going. So find the weight in your heels and sit down like you're sitting on a chair, which is lower than a stool. Yeah, and you have your weight so in your heels, because you're actually lining up your tailbone over your heels essentially, and then lifting your chest up. Your alignment should be so precarious that if I were to come and like touch your third eye, you should probably fall backwards. Good thing I can't reach my hand through the TV yet. And I'm not going to do it for you. Now, notice if your thighs are not like, if you have to check to make sure flames aren't coming at them, maybe go a little lower. And then start to make some circles. You can bring your hands down to heart center, or you can keep them up. And then make your circles the other way. And can your circles actually go down a little lower? Oh, yeah. And then with your exhale, bring your hands down, let your legs lengthen. Take a full breath in, and with your exhale, sigh out. And then bend your knees, drop your booty, inhale, Utkatasana. You're like, I know, cruel and unusual. Take another fueling inhale. How brave are you? Are you sitting low? And with your exhale, bow forward. Inhale, halfway lift, engage your abdominals and jump to chaturanga or step back to plank and lower halfway down chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, stretch your right leg up into the sky. And with your exhale, you bring your right knee all the way to your nose. Feel the space. You lift up even higher onto your left toes and step your right foot all the way forward to your right thumb. Let your left knee come down to the ground. Supported crescent lunge. Inhale, lift up. Now, let's take a couple of breaths here. I was looking through, I told you when we did yin yesterday, but I was looking through this like yoga book with notes from about 15, 18 years ago. But there was this one liner and it said, a yogi will always abuse their strength. Now, it doesn't just mean if a yogi's strong, they'll abuse it. It means that whatever you're good at, that's your go-to. So let's see, can you drop deeper down into this stretch? Is flexibility where you go? So I've been a yogi that's very flexible. And I know that if I'm a little tired in class, I can just sink into my flexibility and nobody notices because it looks impressive. It looks like those, the posters. Now squeeze your thighs together and feel the strength there. If that is your go-to, if you're stronger than you are flexible, you're always going to be relying on your strength and avoiding your flexibility. So you get to decide again, which one needs a little bit more. Do you need to be stronger here? Do you need to be more flexible here? Take another full inhale, maybe enjoy the back bend more. And with your exhale, sweet chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing doggy. Woo. Exhale, downward facing doggy. And then inhale, stretch your left leg up to the sky. And with your exhale, bring your left knee to your nose. Lift up higher onto your right toes and deliver your left foot next to your left thumb. Let your right heel come down and rise up into crescent lunge. And so now see if you can temper it, really mix your flexibility with your strength. So neither one of them dominates. a good check here is you can add dance moves. That's great. That's probably what we need. Yeah. But a good check here is, are you engaging your Mula Bandha? So it's engaging your Mula Bandha isn't like grabbing something and crushing the life out of it. Engaging your Mula Bandha is like gently trying to close a flower, but it's very particular. Take another full inhale, maybe enjoying the back bend more. And then with your exhale, sweet chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog or low cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. It's so cool. Like one of the things that happens, whether you are teaching in the classroom or in a yoga studio, is when you walk past people, like they get better at what they're doing. Like they're like, oh, they're watching me. Take a full breath. Notice where you're getting constricted, where you're feeling inspired or challenged. You know, it's not just the fire, the warmth, and, you know, circulation in your body. It's also in your being. Now, step your feet together. And inhale, come gliding forward into plank. And then roll to the outside edge of your right foot. You can even have your left foot a little bit in front or a little behind your right foot to try and help your balance, and then stretch your left arm straight up into the sky. And then with your exhale, come into that skinny, narrow plank. Plank. And then inhale, come to the other side of Vashistasana. Allow yourself to breathe. It's so sexy. I think even the birds can still do it. I mean, before 5G. It's not funny. Okay, now with your exhale, see if you can bring your right elbow onto the ground. I know this is a horrible twister moment. Yes, nice. And then come to little baby Vashistasana. Now, why is the baby Vashistasana so much harder? Now, take a moment here. Notice where it's more challenging. Notice where it's more supported. And then come onto your left elbow. Gracefully. No, and then open up and stretch your right arm up. Baby Vashistasana. Feel your tail tucked. Vasistas. No, it's Vasistasana. It's actually Sanskrit, not German. Beautiful. And now bring your right forearm onto the ground. Oh yeah, baby. We're not going to go for the whole minute here, but just a moment in forearm plank. And what we're aiming for is like a moment too long. So you want to be struggling. Feel how that warms you as well. And then slowly lower yourself down to the ground. Yes, I did say that. Oh, yes. Maybe you stack your arms for a moment underneath your head so your nose is free to not bump into anything and your neck is neutral. All right, now you're gonna bend your knees and flex your feet. So you're pulling your toes to your shins, and you're gonna reach back and hold onto your ankles. So you might have to take your knees wider to get a grip onto your ankles, but after you have that grip, slide your knees back together. And you're right, Sabine, if you need some extra padding, underneath your hips, I highly recommended Richard Sachs chocolate cloud cake. But if that's too soon, if you need it right away, you can just double up your mat or put a blanket up underneath you there. Now, flex your feet, pull your feet away from your butt and let your chest lift up. Very nice. So keep pushing down with your knees. Notice if you can still be free and angelic in your expressions. One of the hardest things is, can you do a back bend without wrinkling your forehead? I don't know if I can. But you know, they say if you can't, than teach. And I used to think it was an insult, but it's actually brilliant. Come up a little higher, perhaps. Maybe flex your teeth. Flex your feet more, Hedwig. So pull your toes back. Yes. Do you see how it strengthened your legs? And then slowly release to the ground. No, I used to think like that was my attitude about teaching. I was really clueless that I was supposed to be a teacher. And I looked down on teachers. I thought it was like people who didn't do well in what they were practicing. But finally, I've been teaching for 19 and a half years. I'm starting to understand that part of what allows us to teach isn't what we do perfectly, but it's what we screw up. And that helps us. All right. Kick up your feet one more time. And this time you're going to point your toes and grab onto your feet instead of your ankles. Beautiful. Once you have the grip, then slide your knees closer together and really point your toes. Now, just in your mind's eye, picture like the top of the Taj Mahal or a teardrop. And then with your inhale, lift up your hands and your feet as high as you can. And you do that by kicking your feet into your hands and pulling your feet with your hands. So it's that tension that lifts up. I mean, these are the principles, the physics of an arch. And your belly can be soft and round like the bottom of a teardrop. Notice if even here, maybe you can relax your face. You can smile on purpose, that helps. Maybe rock a little bit. And then, yes, okay, if pair's done, we're all done. Lower down onto the ground. It was good to keep me in line. Notice if you're out of breath. Notice if you're provoked. Feeling of throwing up, also very, much more vivid. So maybe you didn't eat breakfast before this, did you? Okay, because for me, this is part of where it's too much if I've eaten within 3 hours. Now, if you're up for it, we're going to do one more version. It's going to be awesome. So kick up your feet. Again, you're going to point your toes. Grab onto your feet. You might have to separate your knees to reach your feet, but after you've reached your feet, then slide and squeeze your knees back together. Already roll forward to your pelvis. And then inhale, lift up. Really kick your feet into your hands. Now we'll take a little pressure off the belly by rolling to your right. Oh, notice what changes. You put gravity in a different place. Let your hips maybe thrust forward a little bit more. Maybe even take your neck into it, opening your heart. And then with a little bit of momentum, come back to center. Now pause here, lift up taller, and then let your teardrop roll to the other side. So notice you move the floor and you have a different experience of the posture. Let your hips go really forward, squeezing your butt to help your hips push forward. A little bit more with your hips, Lulu love. Yeah. And then come back to center. Maybe you got a little bit more lift. Lift up with your hands and your feet to the stars. Hint of a smile. If you want to feel radical, stick out your tongue, look at your third eye, and with a whisper, roar like a lion. And then gently release without going splat and come down onto the ground. Now we're moving into the twist. If you need to take an early Shavasana pair, now's the time. And for the rest of us, we're going to move into the twist very languidly. So take your right knee up. So it's coming, you have the frog leg. And come up onto your elbows. And we're just going to take a full 2 breaths here first. Feel your hip releasing down to the ground. And then you're going to thread your left hand behind your right elbow. You're going to hold on to your right knee and gracefully roll your body open. It's a little bit, if you were in class yesterday, like the ta-da. Beautiful. Now take a full breath in, and with your exhale, just sigh out some good stuff. Gratitude to Mother Earth, sailing through night and day, and her rich soil, rich, rare, and sweet. In our minds, so be it. Gratitude to plants, the sun-facing, light-changing leaf, and fine root hairs, standing still through wind and rain. Their dance is in the flowering spiral grain. In our minds, so be it. Now roll back to center. You can moan and groan a little bit, a little interlude in our prayer. And then bring your left knee up so you have a frog leg on the left. And come up onto your elbows, and let's take a full cycle of breath here, at least one cycle. And then thread your right arm behind your left elbow, lovingly grab onto your knee, and then gently whip your left arm open. Coming into the twist. Take a full breath in, and with your exhale, just sigh it out. Out. Gratitude to air, bearing the soaring, swift, and silent owl at dawn. Breathe our song clear, spirit breeze. In our minds, so be it. Gratitude to wild beings, our brothers, teaching secrets, freedoms, and ways, who share with us their milk, self-complete, brave and aware. In our minds, so be it. Gratitude to water, clouds, lakes, rivers, glaciers, holding and releasing, streaming through all our bodies, salty seas. In our minds, so be it. Gratitude to the sun, blinding, pulsing light through trunks of trees, through mists, warming caves where bears and snakes sleep. He who wakes us. In our minds, so be it. Gratitude to the great sky, who holds billions of stars and goes yet beyond that, beyond all powers and thoughts, and yet is within us, grandfather space. The mind is his wife. So be it. Now roll all the way onto your back. And if you're Frida, I want you to spin around so your feet turn towards me. You can decide which way you're going to take your Shavasana. But allow the ground to hold you. Do you want a blanket today, Frida? Yes, please. Take a couple moments to get situated in your Shavasana. And once you're in your Shavasana, you want to really allow your whole body to become still. Feel the solidness of the ground holding you, and honor the moment by keeping your attention here in the room, in your body, and on the yoga mat. With your next inhale, invite your breath to the edges of your body. Wiggle your fingers and your toes, your face and your nose. With your inhale, stretch long in your body. And with your exhale, curl into a ball and roll onto your side and feel the vitality and the rootedness of being here in the world. Thank you so much for being alive right now. And then help yourself up into a comfortable seated position. Allow your hands to meet at heart center. So even if you're alone in your room, when you close your eyes, remember you are never alone and you're completely connected, especially right now in this moment. Let's close with one final Om. Empty your breath. Take a deep inhale. Bring your prayer hands to your third eye. Invite the divine light. And as we bow forward together, we say, Namaste. And so much love. Now make some noise. Thank you so much for practicing. I have to run kind of fast today. So be awesome, be well. So much love. And I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.